Okay, so we are going to glaze paint on the bottom. You don't want to paint, so this other area you shouldn't paint. If you want to take a crayon, you can take a crayon and color that so that you know you're not painting that. The crayon will just melt away. But, you know, or you could just leave it be. You know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just leave this be. I'm not painting this section right here. This section and this section are what we paint. So we have our glaze paint. When we look at our glaze paint, it's going to be thick. You take your brush. You don't even have to have your brush wet. We're not diluting it. And we start to paint. When you paint, it's going to absorb in the first layer. Okay? So when we're painting in layers. So I'm painting. As you go, if you want to change color, say for example on the side, if I want to have a different color on the side, then what I do is make sure I kind of overlap, because one thing you don't want to have is gaps in your glaze paint. So this is my first layer, painting on my glaze paint. Really getting the rim good, okay? So now I have that. I'm gonna flip it over. So I have the side. Remember, I'm not painting here. If I want to change colors, I wipe my brush really good. I clean it before I go to a different color, okay? So clean my brush. I kind of take, and when I'm on here, I'm kind of scraping it off onto the side so I don't have a lot of water on it, because we're not diluting the glaze paint. Clean it off, and we kind of scrape so it dries off, and then I can get my green and I can start to paint this side and kind of overlap a little bit with where that red is. I'm stopping so I have a little bit to still hold on to, and you'll notice now this is powdery dry. Because this is powdery dry, I could start to paint another layer. You want to have at least 3 layers. So I've done 1. I'm going to scrape off my green as much as I can. Clean it off. Scrape the paintbrush so I get off as much of that water as possible. I can then get my red, and I paint a second layer. See, I'm just gonna going around it with a second layer, because these are like layers of glass. First layer burns away. Second layer gives you color. Third will give you your shiny smooth. And we'll also put some clear glaze on that. Not today, but later. So then scrape. And I clean my brush. Cleaning it off. While that layer is drying, I can flip this over. See how this is already dry, so I can get this side now. And bring my green over a bit. Trying not to get my red and my green. And notice where the seams meet, overlap them. Worst thing you want is a gap. I'm gonna just overlap, and whatever you have the most layers of will be the one that shows through the most. So I've really only done 1 layer of green because the sides take longer. I'm trying not to get any on the bottom. And if you want to just kind of go around, start to get my second layer. And we'll take a little sponge and wipe it clean on the bottom once we're finished. So once I have that layer, I'll flip it over, scrape off my green. Clean my brush really good. Clean off any of that extra water because I don't want to dilute my glaze paint. And then I take this and get my third layer. You only need 3. So that's my 3 layers on the inside. Flipping this back over. Cleaning this off. Notice you want to try to overlap so you don't have a seam. So that's my second layer on my green. I'll come back over the third layer. Trying not to put any on this part. And then I can clean my brush. If you want some designs on it. So this is what we call a base coat. So you have my base coat here, my base coat here. Made sure the seams match. So if you want some designs somewhere on it, first do base coat, and then you can go back over and get my rim to where it's nice and red. And say, for example, if I wanted like some polka dot designs, just gonna go back over on the top. Okay. Double check your fingers haven't messed up any of your glaze. And that's it. And I'll sponge off the top layer. And that's how to glaze paint.